Nick here from Tabletop Duo, and today we're going to be doing a review of Resident Evil 3 the board game, Kickstarter edition, following the unboxing we did last week. On this review, we're going to be going through the components, the overall gameplay, the campaign mode, and also at the end of the video talking about the 3 things we liked and the 3 things we didn't like about the game. So before we start, if you're new to Tabletop Duo, we do board game reviews, unboxing, and also how to play videos. And sometimes we do also video game content like analyzing and doing the unboxing of collector's editions. And if you're new to our channel, consider subscribing so that you can get the latest updates on board game reviews, how to play videos, and so on. And don't forget to hit the bell button as well so that you get a notification whenever a new video comes up. All right, so to start, the board game is based on Resident Evil 3 the video game. So if you played, you will see that they did a very close link with everything that you can find in the video game. You can play this game from 1 to 4 players. You can also play solo, and you can play either the campaign or you can just play one specific mission if you want to just bring some friends and play it. You don't have to commit to play the entire campaign. You have the same enemies. The visuals are the old visuals from the PlayStation version, so the concept arts reflect that. All the items that you find in the campaign, the main characters, like you have Jill, you have Carlos, then you have Nikolai, which is kind of the villain in the game, and you also have Mikhail, which helps you trying to escape the city. You have Nemesis, the dogs, the drain demos, which were super annoying enemies that were in some locations in the game. And you have also a lot of elements that come from the game, like having to open a door, but you need some objects first. Like at some point to get to the city hall, you had to put some jewels on an object and something like that. And they in the campaign you actually relive those moments. So it's really well done. It's really well contextualized with the video game. The gameplay is similar to Resident Evil 2 the board game, which came out I think 2018. It's very, very simple. You can move, you can shoot, you can trade items, you can collect items from the ground and interact with some items. It's very simple. You can do 4 actions and you can do any combination of those. So you can shoot 4 times, you can move 2 times and shoot 2, or move to shoot, and so on. And whenever you attack, the enemies that you're not attacking, that are in nearby tiles, they will be moving towards the character, and that enemy that's getting shot kind of stays on the tile that he was if he's hit. Especially in the early scenarios, you won't find that many. So it's more about like killing enough zombies so that you can proceed and then continue with your objectives. Talking about the objectives, so you have a super nice campaign. You get to choose from 3 initial scenarios: uptown, downtown, and commercial. And from there, as you are completing each scenario, you find items that unlock the next section of that scenario or a different section of another scenario. You get to unlock the Racoon Police Department that way, and eventually when you finish all of them, you also unlock the clock tower. So that part is really cool, and you can finish a scenario and not get all the unlockables to another one. And whenever you do that, you can actually go back and replay the scenario and try to get the things that you didn't get previously. So that's really interesting. And it gives you a lot of options to like, where do you want to go? And there's also some sort of like threat level that as you play, the threat becomes higher and higher. And it goes from green to yellow to red. And as it transitions between those levels, every turn your characters have to flip kind of a tension card. And depending on the level that you are, the threat level that you are, you're gonna be getting more negative effects. The idea is that you have to play the campaign before the threat level reaches maximum, otherwise it's game over. Each scenario that you play, you might also go through some narrative moments. So you flip a narrative card, and it's like in Resident Evil 3 the video game, where sometimes you would find Nemesis and then you would get 2 options, like escape or fight. So you have the same kind of thing in the board game, which is pretty cool. And they give you 2 choices usually, and depending on what you do, You might spawn Nemesis on the scenario. Nemesis has two types, type 1 and type 2. Type 2 is for the end of the game. That's the one you're going to be fighting. And type 1, it's the one you will be fighting constantly as you're playing the board game, just like in the video game. It's a relentless enemy that always show up. And according to your threat level, Nemesis become more dangerous and harder to kill. Like the video game, in this board game, you're playing a survival horror. So it's not a game about killing or defeating all the enemies you see in the map. It's a game where you wanna sometimes go fast and kind of dodge enemies so that you can quickly reach a location or an objective, or sometimes you wanna take time and defeat a few enemies if you want. The scenarios have doors, and some of them you can actually close. Sometimes you have doors that are one way, so you have to be careful if you want to go into the room. And you have all the other types of elements that are common to the Resident Evil universe, like the typewriter, the item box, so you can save some items because each one of the characters have a limited inventory. So you have to be careful how many items you're carrying. But the basic handgun and the knife, they are very weak, and it's very, very hard to hit enemies. Essentially, you have 1 in a 6 chance on the dice to do damage to them. Most zombies die with 1 hit, but it's very hard to hit them. So in the beginning of the game, you will be mostly trying to run away rather than shooting them. And then later on, when you start upgrading or getting new weapons, the game starts to become a little bit easier, and then you start to kill or defeat more enemies as you go. For example, like in the game, at some point you find Desert Eagle parts, and then you combine the Desert Eagle parts with the handgun, and now you have a Desert Eagle, and then you can use the Desert Eagle, which is stronger than the handgun. You increase a lot the chances of hitting an enemy. So that type of progression with the weapons and the items is really cool. You also have the classic green herbs, so you can combine a red one and a green one to heal. You also have the first aid spray, and you have the gunpowders. So you can mix a gunpowder A with a gunpowder C and create ammo for your weapons. You have the grenade launcher and all the iconic Resident Evil video game weapons. All right, so now for the 3 things we liked about the game and the 3 things we didn't like about the game. So the first thing we're going to be talking about is the campaign. Campaign is amazing. You have 3 points which you can start. You can start by the commercial, uptown, and downtown. So they give you choice. And as you are unlocking new missions, you continue to go through the sheet, and the amount of items that you can get increase as well. You have the narrative cards that get into play, and it all culminates with the clock tower missions. And then if you finish both, then you complete the campaign. So that part is really cool. The second thing is about the ambience and kind of like the feeling of playing a Resident Evil game. Steamforged Games did a lot of work to make sure that it feels like you are playing Resident Evil 3, and you can feel that. Like, it's really, really well done. You can kind of relive or some of those moments that you had in the video game. All the components, they look alike with the video game, and it's really, really well done. And the last thing we really liked is how the game is easy to learn how to play and accessible for the first playthroughs. They start by giving you an introductory mission, and the bases of the game are very simple. It's like you can move, you can attack, there's not a lot of edge cases, so it's very, very simple and easy to start, even with a new group. Now for the 3 things we didn't like about the game. So the first one is about the cards. Not about specifically the visual, but the thickness of the cards. Like, they are very, very thin. If we were not to sleeve them, like I feel that after a few playthroughs, the card would be like damaged. Also, the tiles, some of them, just by playing a few missions, you can already see that the edges, you start to see like they start to break down. So it's not that nice. I wish the quality of those components, especially the cardboard and the cards, were better. Because if you guys watch the unboxing, and I recommend you guys watching, the insert is amazing. the quality of the manual and the scenario book, which is this one. It's pretty good. The second thing we didn't like about the game is the fact that everything is random and there is no way for you to like change or affect that random aspect. So often you're going to be fighting an enemy and you do super well and you defeat many of them with just a few hits of your handgun. Sometimes you play and you don't hit anyone for several rounds in a row. Sometimes you go into a room and you spawn like a lot of zombies and you go into the next room and you do the same. So there is nothing you can do to kind of like change your odds. And the last thing we didn't like is actually the scenario book, and I will explain you why. Like the maps that you have in the game, and I will show you on the screen right now. It's very hard to assemble because they put the colors of the encounter tokens on top of it. So it's very hard for you to see which tile you should put. So you spend a lot of time having to pay attention to the tiles. And it seems that for some scenarios, you need to have a specific tile and the tile is already being used on another part of the map. So it seems there are some things there that were not well thought out when they were developing the campaign versus the amount of tiles they have per scenario. So that's it for the review. And next week we're going to be doing the unboxing of the Kickstarter stretch goals and also Kickstarter exclusives that came with the base pledge for Resident Evil the board game. So thank you guys for watching and see you next time.